previously on the new reality of back to school.
But Dr. Arduser, before we walk through my assignment, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Absolutely. So I am originally from Arlington, Virginia. I came to Gainesville to attend the University of Florida. And so I'm currently the principal, proud principal of the MK Rawlings Elementary
All
School in
right.
Gainesville, Florida. Yes. And I just am so happy to be on with you to discuss the state of our education and educational reform.
Okay, so Doc, 86% of school districts reported difficulty hiring new teachers. And then it says 55% of educators now indicate that they are ready to leave the profession earlier than planned. 35% of teachers say they are likely to quit within the next 2 years. Only 52%, now I'm just going by the stat that I found, only 52% of, how's it pronounced? BIPOC
Yeah.
teachers said they were likely to stay in the classroom. Only 10% of educators would strongly recommend the profession to a young adult. 80% of educators say that taking on more work due to unfilled job openings within their district is a serious problem. Next point was 42%
Mm-hmm.
of teachers said that their teaching suffered because of the state of their mental health. 84%, almost 9 out of 10 educators support hiring more counselors and school psychologists.
And teachers, they have to know their impact. They got to know their impact, and they also have to know that they don't suffer in silence. And so many teachers are suffering silence. That's why we're losing it. That's why burnout is happening. We've got to make sure that we're tapping into their mental health and seeing, being like, how are you doing? And actually stopping to hear a legitimate, authentic answer.
And now to the second half of the new reality of back to school here on the Urban Therapist.
Our children are faced with so much that we all have to have a team dynamic. It doesn't just take the counselor, it doesn't just take the school psychologist, but they are the experts leading the way. This is where I fall back, and that's when they push forward.
But we're on the same
I'm
page.
not the
That's what I'm
leader at all
talking about.
times.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're on the
I'm
same
not
page.
the leader at all times. You know what I mean? Like, I may be the sheriff, and I keep regulation. I'm regulating the community, but I know there's a mayor.
The
There's a,
regulator.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? I am the regulator. Okay. I keep it safe. I keep it conducive for learning, and I make sure
Mhm.
that everyone comes to the game to play. Like, we are all wearing the same uniform. We're playing to win here. And I am not for everybody. Now, a counselor needs to understand, if you're going to work for me, you have to be out and about. I count on you to be the finger on the pulse in areas that I can't get to, areas that I'm not going to get the
Okay.
authentic data like they will. And so, understanding that I have gotten better at empowering the adults, because in my mind, you got your elementary diploma, you got your kindergarten graduation, you got your fifth grade graduation. It's time for you to give it to them. But then sometimes, and that's just through my upbringing, because we bring our upbringing to the table, we bring our implicit
Sum
biases
total
to the
of our
table, we
experiences.
bring, yeah, we
Mhm.
bring mama and daddy, what they said before you go out, before you leave this house, you're a decruise and you're representing me, so please don't make me look crazy. We bring all that even as adults, but some people don't have that. And so I've had to learn as a leader to shift that to where I am empowering those who are at the charge of being in front of children. I've gotten better at, but I still say, don't think that just because we have a strong counselor and a strong school psychologist that it's all on them. You're just going to get better and more sophisticated at providing that support, because you're still ultimately the one in front of the child at all times. But we just need to
Now,
make sure that they have everything that it takes to do so.
okay, so I can honestly say, man, we are on the same page because
Yes.
I respect what you're saying, that there's no lifting of the load when it
Mm-mm.
comes down to a teacher's responsibility of being in tune.
Yes.
But I love that what you said, that that psychiatrist or that counselor, whatever her specialty is, that's his or her specialty. and you're
Mhm.
leaning on her to take the lead and everybody working together.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I have seen in other organizations where departments that working together and that respect of various departments when it comes
Mhm.
down to working with mental health, that's not there. So
Right.
I appreciate you saying what you said, and we're on the same page. And I just want to bring that out because,
Mhm.
again, I am not a school counselor, but having comrades who are, or knowing those who have done it, counseling is challenging,
Oh,
teaching is
yes.
challenging, and I'm not comparing apples to oranges, but when you get both of these in that same environment, to be able to work together to make things happen, to bring the best out of the student. So I appreciate your attitude. And so, anybody that's listening and you're thinking about being a school counselor somewhere, this is the school you want to go to because you
Oh,
know you're going to get the support you
thank
need.
you.
So I appreciate that, Doc.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we got a couple more videos because Lewis knows I love my videos. And this next one, Doc, I told you I did my homework.
This is powerful.
We're talking about money on this piece now. This
Uh-oh.
this one, I think this is the one, Lewis. Oh yeah, this is dealing with the income challenges. Now, Doc
Uh-huh.
and Lou, I love what you all said about, and when we do the wrap, I'm gonna talk about a couple of things that you all said that I really love because y'all went in beast mode in talking about teaching. You all did.
That's
I
right.
love it because what neither one of you did, what neither one of you did. Now, I'm not gonna lie. When I was, watching some of the videos and different things, it was more of a some, not all. Some were more like submitting to, oh, this is the way it is. This is what's going on. Or for me, y'all was like, yeah, this is what it is, but this is what needs to be done. And I love when we brought up the challenges. You both kept hitting at it. You didn't ignore the reality, which is this is what we're not doing. We're not going to ignore the reality, but we don't
Mhm.
want to fold under the challenges. And I think that's
Right.
one of the things that is happening. We've got good people who are folding under the challenges versus pushing through. And so that's when the two of you were bringing out how there are other um, opportunities within the field of education where a person can spread their wings. So even if they may
Mhm.
get stuck in a certain area, or they feel as though they're not making an impact, or they're getting burnt out, they don't have to leave the profession as a whole. They just need to find their new niche. So, with that being said, actually, Louis, that was supposed to be for the end, but Doc, you got me so excited, I had to say that now, but I'm going to go to this next video, which is talking about what some teachers are saying is about making money. So, Lou, play that video for me, man.
Went down.
We are
Here we
making
go.
10% less money than we were a decade ago.
That's in Indiana. In Missouri, officials just raised the minimum starting salary to $38,000. But it's temporary. They'll go back to $25,000 soon. Know who makes more?
Those aren't even living wages. Those are more starvation wages. And that's why people have to keep 2 and 3 jobs just to survive.
I worked at an ice cream shop,
Grocery delivery.
A tutor, waited tables.
Uber and Lyft, bouncer.
I work approximately 60 to 70 hours per week. I'm exhausted.
Okay, so these are teachers who are doing what they love and then got to work extra jobs in order to do what they love. 78% of educators say that low pay is a serious issue for teachers. The floor is open. Y'all talk to me. True, false, yes, no,
Whew.
yay, nay,
Listen.
maybe,
Listen.
maybe. I don't know
We have
what.
we have been going hard on a lot. I can do nothing with this. It is a travesty. I have no idea what can be done. Uh, I don't want to compare teaching to the other occupations because we need everybody. I am just trying to figure out how to make teachers feel like their intellectual property has value to where they can go home and be fully engaged in their lives and have that sense of living without having to have multiple jobs. I'm a principal with 3 children and I'm like, how am I going to make it? So I can only imagine with teachers. Like, I don't get it. Why can't we pay a reasonable salary? Like, this really does irritate me because I have no answers for this. A lot of things that we can maneuver and be creative. Like, we try to feed our teachers. We try to get them stipends for things that they do extra and all that stuff because we appreciate it. But I don't know what's going on. Why can't we pay teachers more? I don't know. I do not know. Now, I know that Florida has made strides to do that. We're talking about other different states in the video. I know Florida has. I mean, we start off at 47.5 if I'm believe in our district, but
That's a state thing.
it costs a lot to live. It costs a
Florida
lot
is
to live
expensive.
here.
I know when
It does.
I moved to
It is.
Florida years ago, when I would come to visit, it's like, oh great, you know, Disney, all this. When I moved here, I was like,
Yeah.
what? You know. So, Doc, you said something, you were honest, and I appreciate it. You agree. Well, I think we all agree. Our teachers don't get paid enough. And quite, I don't know either. I mean, you all are the men and women making sure that when we go to the hospital, or even when we go get our cars fixed, or when we go to the dentist, that these individuals are qualified to do the work that they need to be done. You know, I mean, when I go get on a plane, I'm not worried about if the pilot knows math, you know, because I'm sure he or she is going to school and got the training
Correct.
that they've needed. But we don't want to pay, and I don't understand that piece either. But this is one of the things. Let me ask you. This is one of the things that you're seeing. The teachers just spoke and they said we're working other jobs to do this. Is it fair for us to ask people who are in their passion and are passionate about teaching to have to work other jobs for extra income to fulfill their passion that's helping us? It's
Yes.
one thing if you're following a passion because it's just you and it's not impacting anybody but you. But you all impacting society as a whole. You know, and
Hmm.
I think it's
I I wanted to just
sad is
say
not even
I think that
the word.
the
Oh, yes.
profession needs more people to restore what the profession is supposed to be. And so what I mean by that is really like there are people years ago who became teachers with the idea that it was a career profession, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not a transition into something else.
Right.
And so when you get that buy-in again, and that's going to take a rise in professionalism. You know, I think about other professions where you have, and I'm just going to say it, you know, where you have doctors and lawyers and whatever the profession may be. Those are careers that those people don't anticipate leaving. They
Right.
enter that
Hmm.
Right.
profession in
Right.
order for it to
Right.
be a lifelong career. And
Right.
so that's what teaching needs to return to because I feel like we're
Mm.
getting more and more away from that. Again, when I entered the profession, that's what I think the majority of teachers who were entering it felt about teachers.
Yep. Me
Nowadays,
too.
it is seen as a, hey, I need a job. I'll go be a teacher for a couple of years until I find that next thing. And so once you
Yes.
turn it into that transient type of career where people can jump in and jump out, you're not going to have that same commitment to professionalism and professional standards, and that just makes it harder for pay. It's almost like a
Okay.
cycle, right? Where it's almost like we're in this circle of, you know, we want more pay, but if you look at us as a monolithic group, can we say everyone deserves more pay? and it's like, I'd like to.
I can't say that about doctors either. There's some
Right,
doctors with the horrible bedside manners. They done mess people up. You know, it's
Worst piece
everywhere, but
of.
they are still getting that paycheck
right.
that looks real nice.
Well,
But wait,
and
so
oh,
Louis, but what you're saying, are you saying that you think it's because it's because of the way people are just transitioning in and out now, that people are not looking at teaching with the respect that, let's say, doctor, they may look at the lawyers or doctors. So why should we worry about making sure the salaries are something to keep people? Because with the cost of living, the way it's going up,
well, and that's what I was saying is
It's
earlier is that
it's bad.
I think that again that short order cook versus chef, master chef analogy
Yes.
that I gave, and it's like again we are almost seen as replaceable, except by the people who are watching us be replaced. Right? It's like when you
okay.
have a class without a teacher, when you're that parent or that family that has to go through that, then you start to experience the value of a teacher. The problem
Mhm.
is that everyone's not going to experience that because as the population or the profession becomes a little bit more difficult to place teachers, it almost makes certain teachers more valuable, and they're able to migrate towards certain kinds of jobs to where their value is still felt by people who have more affluence. I'm trying to navigate that, say it the right way.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah, and
The
so
best are going to go where the money is.
Yeah.
right,
Oh yes.
and the
The best
opportunity
Mhm.
the
and
best are
where
going to go where the money is.
sure, and so that's an unfortunate part of our system that also needs to change, which is why is it that our best are going towards what is perceived as the easier jobs and not the jobs that are going to take the heavy lift? And so again, there's some imbalance that people have to become honest with what's happening in education, like this conversation we're having today, and really look at what low pay is one thing, but then it kind of spawns a whole list of other problems that happen when you don't pay people at the professional standard that they should be paid at.
And I guess with that
Yes.
too, man, the reality is, from listening to the two of you, the teaching profession is that profession where, in following your passion, there are going to be sacrifices. So you have to
Yes.
ask yourself, is this what I really want to do? And no, in going into this, there are going to be sacrifices you may have to make in order to do what you love. So, and again,
Mhm.
I'm not justifying the pay scale, because that's the sad part. That's extremely sad. But I guess the reality is, from what you all are sharing with me, if a person decides they want to do this and if they're going to stick with it, you may hit those spurts or those spots in your career that you may have to do something extra in order to make ends meet. But I would challenge anyone listening, that is the intrinsic value worth it? And
Right.
I know, in my life, there have been things that I have done, and the pay definitely was not there,
Mhm.
but the results of the consequences of the choices that I made to get involved, that was there. And so, looks like with teaching, this is
And I would say for some people, yes, the intrinsic
powerful
value
choice.
is still there. And that's where you get those people who stay for years, but then there are other
Yes.
people who do not see it because the challenges that they're up against do not give them the things that the intrinsic value offers. And it's like, you know what, man, my list of My list of negatives is outgrowing the list of positives, and it's hard for me to stay in this and to continue.
Yep.
So almost sounds like in recruiting. I remember once when the Army was when they stopped the draft, and so recruitment dropped. So then they started coming up with all these different commercials and different things to try to recruit people. And it sounds like in the field of education right now that fulfillment of do you have do you really want to make a difference?
Yes.
And if you
It'll
do,
cost you. It'll
it'll
cost you.
there it is. No, there it is. And the thing is,
Yeah.
I tell I've told some of my clients, "Oh, I gotta do it." We do what we want to do.
Hmm.
Yes.
Now, if it's something I really want to do, right, wrong, or indifferent, I will figure out a way to if it's what I want to do. So,
Yeah.
so I just want to encourage, and I'm sure you all want to encourage those that want to, and I think it's going to come through when you make that price and you make the sacrifice. You may not always see it monetarily, but the reward comes through. The
Yes,
reward
it
comes
does.
through. So but I had to bring out that about the pay. Um, and then this next one, which shocked me, it says that 84% of teachers spend their own money on basic classroom
Mhm.
supplies. So this is the commitment, folks, that we have from these men and women who are teaching our children. They're already being underpaid, and then they're taking their money to get the stuff that needs to be gotten in order to teach. I thought that was wild.
Now that's
Almost
ridiculous. Now, let
material.
me. No, that's ridiculous. We have had businesses ask for Amazon wish lists, and we use our money appropriately. That is ridiculous. Teachers should not.
Oh,
Basic
really?
classroom supplies?
So this
No,
this
they
this
should
stat shouldn't be
not.
here.
No,
Hey, well,
this
that's
stat
why I'm
should
glad I
not
got
be
you in
here.
there.
No. No, it should not. Like, and I'm telling you from a school where we don't require students to bring classroom supplies because we really need them in school ready to learn and we are uniform. So the investment goes into making sure that they have the Rawling shirt or polo every day. But you know what? I tell my teachers, you ask me what you need and I'll make sure you get it. But understand that it needs to impact academics and the excellence that I expect in the classroom when I see it, when I go in there.
So do
Like
you
they
think
should
this stat
not
then
be, unless it's like something frou
maybe
frou and
rural areas or
extra.
something?
I'm sorry?
You think maybe this stat then reflects more what's happening in some rural or some maybe more lower
I
economic areas
wonder.
or what?
Because teachers also get a stipend. It's not a lot, but I think it's around $200. Louis, correct me if I'm wrong. At the beginning of the year to buy supplies, but the
Okay.
money that they get should not be for basic classroom supplies. That's so disheartening, because they already don't make enough, and then we're asking them, "Hey, also need to buy the things that are required for you to teach the children."
Well,
It's just
Hmm.
like as if they're asking them to buy a desk and a chair for the children too.
I,
That
I,
should be a given.
well, I want to interject and just say that, I mean, remember, we're talking in general across the nation,
I mean,
Right.
I
and
did it
and
too
sure,
but there were things I wanted in my classroom. Like
hmm,
I wanted everyone to have the same notebook,
okay,
and I wanted all my students to have it, so I
hmm,
bought it.
ah,
There are things I wanted to do for me
sure,
in my
sure.
classroom.
So let's still acknowledge that as a truth for
I know.
teachers, right? There's a
I don't like it.
there's a meme out there, if you search it, you can find it.
Boy, we need to have that be for Doc right now, boy.
What's like that?
It's
I didn't
it's
like it.
it's the government funded classroom looks like this, and then it says the
Yes,
teacher
yes.
funded classroom looks like this, right? And they are
Yeah.
starkly different. But I get it. I mean, I think that word basic classroom supplies is the key,
Basic.
and I think
Right.
that everything teachers need is provided. But
Yes.
we know that for our kids and their affective learning, and for the other parts of making the schoolroom feel the way it needs to feel for kids to grow and the be successful, we often have to add more than what's given as basics. Is that a good way of saying it?
I think that's well. I got to yield to the principal because I'm gonna stay in my lane here. She's saying make sure she's glad is okay. But what I was gonna say was at least I appreciate the fact, and the reason I wanted to throw that in behind the income. Again, this is showing the compassion and the dedication and the commitment. I understand what you're saying, Doc. It shouldn't be. In some areas it is, and like Louis was saying, where everyone have. But when I saw it, for me, I just went, wow, you know, these
Right.
individuals are still going in their pocket, even though their pockets are not that deep.
Right.
Right.
And if you gave
Right.
teachers more
But that's
money,
the
guess
love
what
of
they
it.
buy? They buy more stuff for their
They buy
classroom.
more
More
stuff.
stuff. Right. Right.
and,
Right.
but
Right.
that shows the heart the teachers have for their kids, and it's why teachers feel like every class they teach, they are my kids. That's the teacher's mentality, or at least a good teacher's mentality. They will see kids later and say that was one of my kids, right? Because that's
Yes.
how we see it. So we're gonna buy and treat the kids in our classroom in most cases the way that you would treat your own children who come from your flesh and
Yes.
blood.
So now speaking of that, Doc, you got a little more time?
Yes. Oh,
Okay,
yes.
so Louis, let's do this real quick before we hit those last 2 points,
Okay.
because then I got to wrap because I got this one slide I want to close with. But before the slide that you put on before this with the lady that was talking about her challenges, you know the one I'm talking about?
The video.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Can
you
you
want to go
play
ahead
the
and play that one?
video that you
Sure.
actually? Yeah, before we hit
Sure.
slides 12 and 13. Okay,
Okay. So you ready to do it now?
I'm ready to do it now because I think they tie into these last 2 points here.
Building relationships with them, I truly like put myself fully into the school and the building and the students and everything. And it progressed great for a while. The pandemic definitely brought out a lot of voices in education, a lot of what teachers should do and shouldn't do. I've never had complaints. And suddenly, I don't like this assignment, I don't like that assignment. I think you ruined kids because you were lazy and you stayed at home. Like, I would have never chosen to go virtual. I don't think any teachers would, or most anyway. And also, we came back to our classrooms in a new political climate as well. This cultural fight. After seeing that we were heroes in the beginning of the pandemic for like 5 minutes, we were heroes. And then we were lazy, we were indoctrinating kids, we were groomers. Like, seeing all this rhetoric definitely makes you clam up a little bit and like feel less authentic and start to wonder, like, what will I say that will get me in trouble now? The teachers don't feel safe in their classrooms, and then if you don't feel safe, how can you provide that environment for your students as well? So we came back to not a normal, like, we didn't come back to normal. We came back to a new way of life that wasn't great for teaching and creating a safe environment for students. And so I started thinking about leaving, and it was hard because I loved it. I loved it so much, and it was like heartbreaking to have to make the choice to leave.
So, Doc, this goes back to what we were talking about. You were talking about at the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
What you all are faced with in this social and political climate now, especially post COVID. And like one teacher
Yes.
brought out in one of the earlier clips, things were going on even before COVID hit. COVID just made more things come out. But
Mm-hmm.
like this teacher was saying, being hit with, oh, you're indoctrinating our children, stop, teaching. And you got people saying that teachers are teaching things that teachers aren't even teaching. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how do you help your teachers deal with this? Because 40 it says 45% of teachers say they don't feel respected by the
Mm-hmm.
public. And then 65% of educators agree that bureaucracy interferes with teaching.
Okay, so first and foremost, critical race theory does not exist in K-12. I really wish that people would get their theories in line. That is a university upper educational concept that you will not see at my school because it is too high for K or pre-K to fifth grade. Also,
Really? You
we
sure? Because
also
everybody says that you all are doing that now. You know,
Right. They can say it all they want, but they're
you feel guilty,
misuse. It's a
you know.
misuse. It's a misuse of the term. And so
Mm.
I also tell my teachers, do not go be weary about distractions. We have a lot of distractions. Let me do me. I need you to do you. And that means teach to the standards and teach what's vetted by the state as far
Okay.
as curriculum that will teach our students that will build from one to the other. Be careful about sharing your feelings because it is very, very important to stick to the facts. At the end of the day, teachers are facilitators of learning. Students will bring in what they're learning inside and outside of the classroom, and we have to manage that. There have been discussions that have been impacted me as a teacher when I've allowed for that space for students to really grapple with each other, where I'm
Okay.
not provoking or poking it. It happens authentic and organically, but I have to be a craft facilitator in that learning. What we are seeing, they're distractions. And there are ways in which people are reading legislation and making it work for them. And we as instructional leaders have to be very careful of that. And that's why I'm a part of the Florida Association of School Administrators. I stay very close to what's happening in Tallahassee and make sure that we are still doing what's best for kids within the alignment of legislation. At the end of the day, we are still the experts. Our teachers need to feel confident in what they're doing. And they also need to know that these are the parameters in which we were given, but they don't isolate us because we're going to do what's right for kids. But we have to make sure that the parents understand and feel safe with us because trust has been lost. We're not talking about that. This is a trust issue. This is not an indoctrination issue. This is not a CRT issue. It's a
But
trust
how is the
issue.
trust laws? But how is the trust laws? Because how is the trust
The
laws?
trust is
Explain.
lost because
No,
we
no.
look on TV and
When
we
did you
see
lose it?
teachers acting a fool in the classroom. One teacher in one state all of
Okay.
a sudden defines everything that is done in education. One teacher. And
So
so
that's how all this
that's a thing.
came about. When I say
I'm
like
just
all, so
telling
this is
you,
part of the problem.
we have to, yes, we have to control our narrative. I control the narrative that happens at Rawlings.
Okay.
I have to be at the front. I can't be fearful of addressing certain issues. But we have to understand that sometimes we're defined by isolation, one isolated event. And that's a
Okay.
distraction.
Okay.
It
So
serves as a
okay. So let me make
distraction.
sure. Let me make sure I got you clear. Okay.
Hmm.
So you say that part of this issue that we're talking about now about
The
teachers
bureaucracy. Hmm.
not feeling respected by the public and the bureaucracy is because
Hmm.
maybe a rogue teacher or teachers, something came
Yes.
up, they said something, did something, played something, and then somebody grabbed that and say, "Oh, this is how all the teachers are. Look at what educators are doing to our children right
Yeah.
now."
Sure.
Because
And it
they're
was just
controlling the
that
narrative.
one. Okay.
They're controlling the narrative.
Okay.
Like when they're talking about all this stuff, okay, that's not Rawlings. Say you can say it, but that's not what's happening at our school. That's not going to happen at our school where we're not doing what's right for kids and we're indoctrinating. No, we're not. That's not
So we need
happening.
to make it
So
clear, not just Rawlings, but other
yeah.
schools as well. This,
But what I'm saying is
this,
that's how you control the narrative. It's like, oh, really? That's happening? Not here.
okay.
Not
I see what you're
here.
saying. Educators have to make it clear in their
Hmm.
facility, in their
Hmm.
arena,
In
what's
this
being
space.
said is not the reality.
Yeah, you can't crumble and be like, how could they? We're not victimizing ourselves. No, 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 no. Some the victims are some of the students who'd go home to destructive environments. We're not talking about that, are we? because we can't do
No,
that. We
no,
can't
we're not.
expose people like that. It's so easy to expose us because we're out in the open. We're public educational, like taxpayers. So yeah, they're going to have a voice. Let them, but it can't serve as a distraction because we're losing students who don't feel like we're accepting them, and we've done nothing because the world is saying
That's
they're wrong
true.
for this, that, and the third. That's the beauty of being a teacher, is that you have the ability to make that space work for every single individual who comes in there, no matter how you do it. But you have to understand that we're fighting that fight. We are fighting that fight together, but we have to be fearless and not fearful as if we're doing something wrong. And that's the thing. I just tell my teachers, you're doing what's right because I've given you the structure. I've given you the expectation. You know I'm going to inspect it. Don't have me looking crazy. It's like the mom, but like, okay, I'm going to come up in the school, but if you said those words, you need to tell me now because I'm going in and I'm going hard, but you better make sure that you're doing the right thing. Don't have me look crazy. It's the trust. We have to regain the trust of the people. And by that, it's by showing results, showing that kids are learning and they are thriving because the data is also not helping us, especially when it
Okay,
comes to children of color.
okay, so now that's a whole nother show we're gonna have
That's
to
the
get you
next
on, Doc.
podcast episode.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah. We gotta get you on for that. And listen, I know we gotta get ready to wrap because Lewis gave us the bell.
No. The
Excuse me.
bell was like she's on it. She's on it.
Oh, okay.
I
I
was
thought
ringing
that
her
was
bell because she.
oh well,
Yeah,
I thought that was
that's
the
what that
TK. I
was.
thought that was the TKO bell. I thought she had
Yeah,
knocked it out.
yeah. I mean, look,
TKO.
she came with the gloves today. She's just
I was
working
I
it,
not
see.
happy.
working it.
I'm like, uh-uh.
I see. Well, listen, I'm
These are
glad.
excuses. People want to use excuses. We're not making
Oh,
excuses just because they can talk all they want, but what we're doing is
Hmm.
different.
Hmm.
but now, Doc, I appreciate you, especially what you just said. Some people use facts as excuses instead of a catalyst for change. And what we
Yes,
wanted to do today, we wanted to be informative, and I love and I appreciate the fact you all are pushing the narrative that even though these 13 points that we brought up are maybe factual, they do not dominate the reality of what can be. So we need more of what can be. And the only way we're going to do that is we got to have more of this. So Doc, we got to have you on again, and we've got to push this out.
sure.
So if you got some ideas for some shows that you want us to do, let's do it so we can get this out. Because like you said, the people who control the narrative are
Hmm.
putting out what they want to put out. If I tell you I found more video and information on the negative aspects of teaching and of education than on the positive and the impact, you know that's true. But that's because, like you
They're
said,
controlling the
people who
narrative.
control the narrative. But speaking of the narrative, I want to wrap with this, Lou, as we get ready to wrap. It says 66% of teachers, almost 7 out of 10, now with everything that's going on, I think this is a good stat. 7 out of 10, almost 7 out of 10 teachers say they are satisfied with their job, even with all the things that they are faced with right now. Almost 7 out of 10, 66% of the teachers who were surveyed said that they are satisfied with their job. And Luz, I want to wrap this portion of the show up with this last video. And Doc, I think you'll appreciate this. I loved it when I listened to this young lady talk about what being an educator means to her. So, Lewis, can we go to the
Yes.
last video?
This is my calling. This is my calling. This is what I do. But at the same time, it is at a great compromise to my personal life. There's been many days where I just said, I can't do it anymore, where I felt like I'm, it's been very difficult days when I've just felt like back to the wall. What am I going to do? But then your students do something for you, like make you a video out of nowhere to tell you how much they love you, right? These are the things that happen to me. I don't want to get emotional, but these are things that keep me. It's my work, that I want to be judged by when I'm no longer here. The things that I've been able to do as an educator and the people I've been able to impact, the families I've been able to make a difference in their lives. I know my efforts are far reaching.
Man, when I heard that young lady say that, I'm not going to lie to the two of you. I listened to that several times because it's just beautiful. I mean, to me, that embodies what teaching, what education is all about. She's looking at the reality. It is what it is, as Michelle Obama would say, and yet and still, the intrinsic that the students making the movie, knowing that she's making a difference. I mean, then I can say that I leave it to you and Lou on this because for me, that that just inspired me.
She literally just captured everything that we talked about. That's what teaching is. It is it is something, it's the most fun you never want to have again. Like she said, when I'm gone, I'll still be here. That's what
Mm,
teaching is.
Mm.
mm.
When I'm gone, there's a legacy
And
that I
impact.
get to mark. I she spoke my heart. She spoke my heart. Because I go to work with a bit of fear every day because I'm like, what if I can't fix it? But you go anyway. You step out on faith knowing that something will happen for the better. And that's what she said.
Lewis?
That's exactly what she said.
Nice. I mean, it's funny. I never got to meet Dr. Stella as a teacher, but I felt like when I saw that video clip, that felt like I was looking at you a few years back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
remember, being a classroom teacher, and that's all you care about is the success of your students and the impact that those things that you're imparting on them, and it's not always academic, but the things that you're imparting on them will have on them. And that's the beauty of what teaching is. It is passing down to the next generation and to the next generation the things that we want to see sustained and continued.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I want to thank you both for being on the show today. Lewis, I know you're the
Thank
producer and the
you.
co-host, man, but this is for you as my partner and as my friend. And Doc, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
And listen, again, we're gonna have you again because I do want to
Okay.
deal with some of the other issues and challenges that you would want to talk about as far as education is concerned. One of the things I really want to have you back about is talking about recruitment because
Okay.
you were talking about the gentleman who's working, who's not a teacher, but you're trying to recruit him, because of his
Hmm.
passion, because of the way he works with young people. Um, I want to talk to you about that. I want you to talk about that because we need to recruit. We need to recruit. So, but I need the people who know what it takes and who love what they do to do the recruiting. So that's just
Right.
one thing I just want to throw out there at you, to come back, talk about that, because, some of the things I'm hearing about some of the people that are trying to get in and how they're trying to get them in, and sounds like they're watering down the process. And I was listening to one administrator say, instead of, and I'm paraphrasing, instead of watering down the standard, give people what they're worth and make them feel like they're worth it.
Hello.
And so you will get people back who are leaving. So anyway, so we're going to have you back, and I appreciate it.